All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dan Harley for another Dan's Digital Moment. This is episode number 10. We're going to talk about getting internet services in the high desert Victor Valley, recorded on June 11th, 2021. So this is my new series of live blogcasts compared to my Tech Talk shows. This is unedited, unscripted, and live, basically. So, and this is all raw, off-the-cuff reactions of popular technology topics. This episode is a little bit special. It's got a little bit longer than the typical digital moment, which is about 5 or 10 minutes, because all the information you really need to cover here. And I did do a little bit of notations here, so make sure I cover things properly here. And so anyway, the episode is talking about getting internet services in the high desert Victor Valley. So those of you who don't live in the high desert Victor Valley, this is going to be a little bit weird for you because you're not here, but you probably won't relate to it. Where this is at is where I'm located in my hometown, stuff like that. So now also, if you're in a rural area, some of this stuff is going to relate to what you're going through. That's basically where I live in, kind of a rural high desert of California here. So now those of you who live in the Victor Valley, there's been lots of requests for this on the local boards, on VBNG, all the other stuff here. And usually what I do is I had created, if I talk a little bit about this a little bit later here, I created an episode a few years ago that basically covers this. But it bit dated. So anyway, the big problem we have in the Victor Valley, and this is not unusual for a lot of rural areas, is we have really spotty ISP services. You know, we're very rural. Things are the infrastructure is relatively old, and things are kind of stretched out a bit. So, so we're not like downtown Los Angeles or San Francisco, whatever, where we get multiple different options for services. So some at one time, some are lucky to get one ISP service, or dial up or whatever, you know. Now in other places got lots of stuff. So we're going to talk about that in this episode here. Also, for many years, because of the spotty service we have in my community here, I've offered a ISP location service for free. And usually I do this initially I did for my clients, because for my clients, to my business clients to work with me with their website or internet marketing, they have to be online. So I try to locate them some type of internet service somehow, some way. And I've been pretty good at it for a long time. And then a long time ago too, I decided to open that service up to the public. For whoever called in, I spent some time trying to find out trying to find one or several different options for them and give them advice which way to go. So never charged for the service. All I asked for the people who had partaken in it to, hey, spread the word. If you know a business out there that needs some help with getting customers to the door, stuff like that, drop my name and number. So anyway, like I said, I made an episode to kind of help out with that. I made an episode about 2-3 years ago. I didn't realize that old, kind of covered all this various ISP services at the time, and how you kind of handle them. Okay. But I just realized that there's a recent post in the local Facebook groups, whatever, people wanting to ISP service. And I realized that episode, that video was a bit old, a bit dated. So here we are, some new information. Okay. So anyway, what I'm going to do is go to the possible ISP options, you know, and my personal pros and cons of each one of these services here. Now, I want to make sure everybody knows right now here, I'm not endorsing any of these services, okay? And you'll know why when I review them, okay? Also, I am going to leave links to the mentioned services in the show notes. So for your reference, if you want to look down there, wherever you're seeing this video at, you should find links to all the different services. Once again, I'm not getting paid for any of these services, not endorsing them, nothing, just raw my opinion of what's going on. So, okay. So anyway, let's jump on desktop and see what is going on. I'm going to press this button over here. Okay. Let's kind of go down the big ones to the little ones and go from there. If you're lucky, okay. For instance, here's one thing interesting about the high desert. We have certain areas here that has lots of of options here. One thing is Apple Valley, where I live here. For whatever reason, long time ago, Verizon chose Apple Valley to be the flagship for a lot of their services. We had received Fios much earlier than many other communities have. So I had Fios for a long time. And one of the first in Apple Valley to do that. And in fact, one time I had more bandwidth to my home office than some of my colleagues did in what's called the little Silicon Valley in San Diego. And so one of my friends, he had actually run an ISP service down there. I had more bandwidth than he did in my house. So that's interesting. That's something interesting about Victorville and Apple Valley. Some parts of Victorville is but big thing about Apple Valley. So if you're lucky and live in Apple Valley in the town town limits here, you probably have the widest variety of different services. We're going to go over all of them here, but you probably have an option to go Spectrum, which is what everybody knows as Charter before, or the cable service, or Frontier, which used to be Verizon. Okay. Both of them what I call wired ISP services. Okay. The technical part of it here, Frontier had taken over Verizon's Fios service. So they're a true fiber optic. Spectrum, actually the infrastructure locally here is fiber as well. Okay. Now a little technical thing here. Frontier offers what's called synchronous service, meaning upload and download is the same speed. Okay. So if you order 100 megabytes of speed, it's both 100 megabytes up and down. Spectrum, for whatever reason, it's asynchronous, meaning the download's much faster than the upload. For whatever reason, they throttle upload at about 10 or 20 megabits, and the download can be up to 3 gigabits. Okay. Both these services now offer gigabit service. Okay. Most people don't realize that. What this means is you get massive amount of bandwidth, more than you'll probably ever use. But this old saying there, it's never fast enough. So if you're really big at Netflix or gaming, whatever, you probably want to hope you got one of the two services. Or if you really want to, let's say, do a lot of streaming, you probably want to go Frontier. Now, let me there's a caveat on both things here. Both these services, I hear a lot of people say one's better than the other. I work with all of them, okay? All of them have a big issue with customer support, okay? Somewhere down the line, the first thing they do is something goes wrong, they're going to try to blame the customer for the issues. And we're going to go over a couple of things here to make sure that doesn't happen too. Frontier, and a lot of people say Frontier is better than Spectrum better than Frontier. No, in fact, let me a little cliche I say here. The reason why people think Frontier is better than Spectrum is because Frontier is even worse. Okay, so that's one of the cute things here. Expect bad customer service from either one of them. Okay, and we're going to go over a couple little points here to make sure we pick one or the other. So these are the two services that might be available to you in Apple Valley. The more downtown Hesperia, Victorville, Adelanto, stuff like that. Something else there too. Frontier, let me click on here too. Also offers what's called DSL service, which is used through your own copper phone lines. A lot of you folks in the more outskirts, rural areas, feeling stuff like that, probably have that available to you. Advantage of that is, in theory, everybody can get internet. The disadvantage of it is that because of technology, there's only a limited amount of bandwidth available. So unfortunately, Frontier kind of uncorked that. Where in Verizon, they kind of limited the number of available services, which kind of kept the available bandwidth pretty much okay across the board, not really spectacular, but you didn't have a lot of throttling back and forth. Unfortunately, Frontier kind of uncorked everything and gave everybody access. So you had some peak times where the DSO services in these rural areas are really super slow. Okay, so that's another thing that Spectrum doesn't offer. That Frontier offers DSL. Also, with the old DSL service, this is something most people don't realize. With DSL, you don't necessarily have to go with Frontier. You can go with third-party services such as Roadrunner. There's a lot of national services out there, or anybody you can pick and choose, because of a lawsuit that Verizon lost to. The copper lines are available to any service out there. So, but anyway, this is old technology that's kind of going by the wayside, and something I kind of covered 3 years ago, but it's not really pertaining anymore. So anyway, another service that's coming around here is called race communication. Okay. This is our smaller, obviously a smaller ISP service. They are branching up for another company I was working with for a while ago here. They offer what's called gigabit service. You can see here on the website 1 gigabit, 1,000 megabits, which is fantastic. And they are offered their services in certain locations in Phelan, as you can see here. Wrightwood, which is where I think they have their trucks at. Also, I believe they're at Silver Lakes. So some of the rural areas where you guys used to have no internet, now you have faster internet than downtown, than if you're downtown wherever. So that's available here. Now I've worked with the individuals directly, personally here. I'll be up front here. They also have a customer service issue. Okay. So and I'm hoping the folks out there at Race and some of these other companies I'll bring up with here, think about that. Okay. One of the things really pisses people off if you treat your customers like crud. And for whatever, and I think because there's a limited number of services, these companies take advantage of the potential customers they have here. So think about that. Anyway, so this would be awesome if you're able to access, if they're able to provide you service here. Okay. And unfortunately, they're limited. Like I said, in Phelan, Wrightwood, Silver Lakes, I believe. And I don't see them, as far as I know, they're not expanding a whole lot real fast. So anyway, the next services here, and hopefully these are kind of the wired services we talked about. Now let's talk about the wireless services. There's a couple coming in Whispering and Desert Wireless locally here. What wireless services are basically glorified Wi-Fi services that you would have in your home. Okay. However, the equipment's much higher quality. Equipment antennas much higher quality. In theory, these things can broadcast miles, 10, 20 miles, and so long as there's line of sight, so on and so forth. Up to 20 megabits of service. The disadvantage of these wireless services here is their limited bandwidth. The technology, in theory, can go to about 50, but more like 20 megabits or less. So you're going to get like I said, with race communication here, it'd go to like a couple hundred times faster than these Wi-Fi services here. Both these services, Desert Wireless and Whispering, are locally owned. I got to tell you that this person here with Whispering here, I recall this guy here was actually peddling this thing on the side of the road. So he's built an impressive business here. I'm going to say once again here too, customer service issue on all of them. Okay. I've had a lot of people that come to me and say, Dan, this doesn't, they pissed me off. I need to go someplace else. So, I hope that you folks out there at these other companies take that to heart. So anyway, these are available where you're not able to get wired service, basically. Okay. You need to be line of sight within one of the towers, and they have a system. They have their own system to determining that. Both, and let me show Desert Wireless over here too. Another company, they've been around for quite a long time too. These two are basic competitors. They basically one kind of shooting one way, the other shot the other way. Basically, the rural areas, okay, the fringe areas that you don't have cable or fiber run to your house there. So that is kind of the next option. If you're not able to get wired service, here's a fair decent wireless service. Another issue with both these services here is they get throttled back when you get peak usage, after school stuff like that. And that's been a problematic for both services. And probably the biggest issue, customer service issue, I get feedback from. Okay. Next thing here is called the satellite service. The current satellite services, which is Hughes and Viasat, if I'm correct, that's correct here. There used to be 6 different satellite services They both basically the two companies bought all the ones out, so they're the one or the other here. Advantage of these services here is you can get access no matter where you're at, so long as you see the sky. Okay, this is where, let's say you are not able to get any of the wireless services or the Wi-Fi wireless services we're talking about before. So at least this is available. And you're probably, those folks who are looking at this are probably looking at very rural, very, very rural areas, way the heck out there in the middle, nowhere further than that. Okay. Disadvantage of this is extremely expensive. As you can see here, also there is data plan, limits. So you had data limits here. They basically throttle you if you bypass the gigabit plan, whatever they have in here. And on top of that, another issue or two is connectivity. Those of you who have had satellite internet before, you realize that those satellites move around a little bit, and all of a sudden your internet will go out and then come back on, as well as throughput too. It's actually pretty slow, even though you might have 10 or 20 gigabits of speed. It takes a bit for the information to go from a web server through the satellite back down to wherever you're at. So you would generally have a much slower experience, but at least you have something. Probably not there's a big issue here with these two services is Netflix or streaming video. They don't do very well with these services here. Those who are on HughesNet or Viasat, they usually go on with their phone, whatever, and do it that way. Something I didn't cover too, I'm glad I brought that up here too. Another option available is going 4G phone. In all the services provided, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, a lot of them have their unlimited packages, which could be an option. The issue with those services here is if you are to the point that you need to use 4G, whatever, you're probably in an area that's so that's outside the area of optimal 4G service. Verizon is probably arguably better coverage up here. But usually if you're able to use 4G, you might be able to use Whisperin or Race as well, or Whisperin or Desert Wireless, one of the other Wi-Fi services out there. That's also available. Can be very expensive. Okay. So I did not cover that in my presentation here. So anyway, you got HughesNet. Back to the satellite stuff. You got HughesNet and you got Viasat here. Once again, all this stuff is in my show notes. Okay. Last but not least, we're talking about future. Okay. If you had not heard this yet, Elon Musk is launched a bunch of satellites called Starlink. So he's going to be able to provide higher quality internet servers around the world and with the pretty much everywhere actually, and which much higher quality, much faster throughput there. Right now, I know some friends of mine that are there in Washington State. They are absolutely love it. Okay, they had been on something similar to what Whisperin or Desert Wireless provide, which is high-speed Wi-Fi. Going to Starlink, it was like night and day. All of a sudden, they got lots of bandwidth. They're doing Netflix videos and streaming YouTube stuff like that, like they're downtown. Absolutely, well worth it. Okay. Now, as for us down here, that Elon Musk and SpaceX are still deploying the satellites that's going to cover this area here. So expectation of availability is going to be in September this year, from what I understand, or later. It's not available now. So that's an issue. If you're looking for this is, by the way, like I say, it is June 11th right now. So make sure mark that date. It could be available by the time somebody sees this video. Keep that in mind. Sometime in September 2021, I've been told that it might be available. I do not represent Starlink. I do not represent SpaceX. So I've been told. Okay. In my opinion, when Starlink becomes active, it's going to be a disruptor in this industry here. You're going to see all of the services change dramatically because of Starlink. I'll be up front. I don't see a future with HughesNet or VSAT when Starlink comes active. Okay. They're too expensive and too slow. Where Starlink is going to be half a gigabyte of bandwidth, which is almost as half as much as a gigabit as a wired service here, and much faster throughput. HughesNet is 10 megabits, 20 megabits. You're lucky. And same with VSAT. So we're talking, basically you're a bicycle compared to a race car. So and on top of that, it's being in a satellite up in the air here, you're going to be get access everywhere. So you're not going to have issues like Whisper or Desert Wireless where you may or may not get their service. Plus, it's going to be faster than them too. And then go back. And then how it's going to affect the wired services here is the price. Okay, at right now, the price is very competitive to what Spectrum and Frontier provides, including race as well. So this could be obviously going to be a major disruptor in this industry. So we're looking forward to see that happens. When Starlink finally launches here, I will do a review on that and let you guys know. So anyway, let's get back to what to do. All right. Like I say, by the way, this is all I got all the links to all these services that I mentioned here in my show notes. So anyway, what can you do looking for an ISP service? First and foremost, always shop all available services. Okay. And also do not, because for example, if you're able to get Spectrum, you're probably going to be able to get Frontier. So get a price for Spectrum and go back to Frontier and say, hey, what's your price? This is Spectrum, get a bit. So shopping back and forth, and they'll probably bundle up TV or whatever with it. And it's up to you to find what's best. Okay. Also, don't get into a long-term contract with any of these services because you might have to leave them all of a sudden. You don't want to get stuck in a month, 2 month, 3 month, 1 year contract, not be able to get out of it. Okay. So anyway, and also expect poor customer service. As I mentioned through this whole episode here, they all fall short. They all have a tendency of treating their customers like they're the only ones. And for the most part, that's how they are. They are actually the only ones. You don't have too many options out there. Okay. So expect customer service and this is including my people I consider friends. Okay. I wish the local services would do better. Okay. They should be able to provide more friendlier services, so on and so forth. But that's what it is. Okay. Last but not least, make sure no matter what service you use here, get your own router. Okay. Use your own router to separate the modem, the ISP service from your own equipment for a couple reasons. First of all, if you need to change services, it's one wire to change. Okay. And then sorry, somebody just tried calling here. And so it's much easier to maintain your existing equipment when you change services. Second of all, back to customer service. Most all of them will try to blame something goes wrong with your system, and it will. Okay. First thing all these services do, they're going to try to blame the customer. When you able to separate your equipment from their equipment, it defines it. Okay. And 9 times out of 10, when you have an issue, it's their modem, their side. But if you use their equipment for the router, stuff like that, it convolutes everything and gives that service an excuse to blame your equipment. So use your own router, separates all that. Okay. So anyway, so that's that. Now, what I can do here is, like I said, if you need other questions about that, about all this stuff, I do, as I mentioned earlier, the show here, I provide a free service to locate ISP services. It's I don't charge for it, but I do get busy. Okay. So if you want to call in it, let us know, leave a message at our number here. I'll give you a little bit here and we'll work things out. And, also too, because in trade, the reason why I do this is, hey, if you know a business out there that's having some struggling out there with COVID, or trying to get new customers, or doing real good with COVID and want to knock out of the park, pass my name and number to them. I can probably help them out. Anyway, like I said, any questions or concerns you might have about this or anything else, post in the comments, call us, so on and so forth. Here's something I got. Email me too. Contact me at danharley@primeconstance.net. Leave a subject from Dan's Digital Moment. So I get loads of emails. So this is how I figure it comes from you, from the show. Or call us. Phone number 760-247-4814. 760-247-4814. Myself or one of my associates will answer the phone for you and answer your questions. Do me a big favor. Share those friends and colleagues out there. Hopefully this could be benefit for other folks out there, including you. And that's it. Thanks for watching and listening. And hang out with me for a few minutes. Good luck and Godspeed online success. I want to see you next time.